It is 0150, May 19th, 1944. Inside the cramped Combat Information Center of the USS England, the air is thick with tension. Lieutenant Commander Walton Pendleton stands watching his sonar operator. Pendleton is 37 years old. This is his first war patrol as commanding officer. His kill count stands at 0. The operator's voice is sharp, cutting through the electronic hum. A contact, moving at 6 knots, deep beneath the black waters north of Bougainville. The hunt is on, but this isn't just any destroyer. This is a Buckley-class destroyer escort, a tiny ship built for one purpose: hunting submarines. And Pendleton is betting his ship, his crew, and his life on a new weapon, one that most captains in the fleet didn't even trust. For 3 decades, the hunt had been defined by a single blunt instrument: the depth charge. It was a weapon of tradition. Captains rolled them off the stern, set the hydrostatic fuse for an estimated depth, and prayed they had guessed right. The statistics told a brutal story. British forces had launched 5,174 depth charge attacks during the war. The result? 85 confirmed kills. That is 1 kill for every 60 attacks. But the real flaw wasn't just the terrible odds. It was the explosion itself. The massive blast was useless thunder. It disturbed the water so violently that the ship's sonar, its ears, became blind for 15 minutes. In the chaos, the submarine was gone. The depth charge wasn't just inefficient. It gave the enemy the perfect cover to escape. But the weapon that made England different sat mounted on her foredeck. It was a British invention they called the Hedgehog. This was not a weapon of brute force. It was a weapon of precision. It consisted of 24 spigot mortars arranged in rows that fired projectiles 200 yards ahead of the ship in a circular pattern. Its genius, however, was its fuse, contact fuses. Unlike depth charges, which exploded based on a timer, Hedgehog projectiles only exploded if they hit something solid. This simple change had a revolutionary implication. Misses were silent. No massive water disturbance. No 15-minute sonar blindness. For the first time, a destroyer could maintain sonar contact throughout the entire attack. Hedgehog changed everything. But the weapon's potential was still just numbers on paper. Early trials had been dismal, a 5% success rate. Crews didn't trust it. Captains preferred the familiar thunder of depth charges. It was the tradition of naval warfare. But Lieutenant Commander Pendleton trusted mathematics. While other captains saw a 95% failure rate, he saw the potential. 1 Hedgehog kill for every 5 attacks versus 1 depth charge kill for every 80. The mathematics were simple, and now the theory was about to be tested. Fleet Radio Unit Pacific had decoded Japanese submarine I-16's transmission. The intelligence was perfect. The contact was real. Pendleton's voice cut through the tension. He ordered the first Hedgehog attack at 1341. 24 projectiles arced through the afternoon sky, splashed into the Pacific, and sank at 23 feet per second. Silence. A miss. I-16 had turned. The second attack scored 1 hit at 130 feet. The explosion lifted England's bow, but it was not enough. The third attack missed. The fathometer revealed the problem. I-16 had gone deep. 325 feet, deeper than Pendleton had estimated. The fourth attack, another miss. 1433, Pendleton ordered the 5th attack. This time 4 detonations, then 6. They were followed by a massive, bone-jarring underwater explosion. The blast lifted England's stern clear out of the water, knocking sailors off their feet. 20 minutes later, debris began surfacing. Oil, wood, fabric. I-16 was gone. 107 men were dead. The weapon worked. Pendleton had proven the weapon worked. The mathematics were lethal. But as the debris from I-16 surfaced, Fleet Radio Unit Pacific decoded another message. This was just the beginning. 7 more Japanese submarines were stationed in a patrol line, waiting, and England was sailing straight toward them. If you want to see how this one tiny destroyer escort took them all on, hit that like button right now and subscribe, because what happens next is insane. Commander Hamilton Haines received the decoded intelligence at Tulagi on May 20th. It wasn't just one submarine. The Japanese 7th Submarine Squadron had deployed 7 Type KO submarines in a deadly picket line, designated NA. This was a gauntlet. The submarines were positioned at precise intervals stretching from Truk Island to the waters west of Manus. They were the eyes of the Imperial Navy, tasked with detecting American carrier task forces moving toward the Marianas. They had names: RO-104, RO-105, RO-106, RO-108, RO-109, RO-112, and RO-116. Haines ordered England to join her sister ships, George and Raby. Their mission: sail straight into the NA line and hunt them all. 3 tiny destroyer escorts, 7 lethal targets. The impossible mathematics had just begun. At 350 on May 22nd, the first boss appeared. The USS George's radar detected a surface contact at 15,000 yards. It was RO-106 recharging her batteries. She crash-dived immediately. George fired its Hedgehog first. 24 projectiles splashed into the dark water. Silence. A miss. But England was already moving in, regaining sonar contact at 0425. The Japanese commander knew the tactics, running deep, making radical turns to break the sonar lock. He was trying to make the Americans guess. Pendleton didn't guess. His sonar operator tracked every turn, feeding perfect data to the fire control. The second attack at 0501 was fatal. 3 sharp detonations. Then a massive underwater explosion. The pressure wave rolled across the surface, shuttering England's hull. At sunrise, the oil slick was half a mile wide. Kill number 2. Just 24 hours later, at 600 on May 23rd, the USS Rabbai's radar detected another surface contact. It was RO-104. The submarine dove, and the hunt began. Raby fired 4 Hedgehog attacks, all misses. The USS George tried next, firing another 4 attacks between 7 and 810, all misses. This Japanese commander was good, turning inside the patterns, making the mathematics impossible. Division Commander Haines watched as England approached for her turn. The pattern was clear. England's crew had 2 kills. The other ships had none. She was the killer in this group. Haines grabbed his radio and spoke 5 words that would become Navy legend. "Oh hell, go ahead, England." England's first attack missed, but her second, at 0834, was devastating. 10 detonations, maybe 12, merged into a single continuous roar, followed by the sounds of a submarine breaking apart. Kill number 3. At OR-120 on May 24th, George's radar detected RO-116 on the surface. The pattern began again. Radar detection, crash dive, sonar tracking. But this Japanese commander had a new tactic. Most dived deep, 300 or 400 feet, putting maximum water between them and the explosions. RO-116's commander did the opposite. He went shallow, while 150 feet. He was betting the Americans would set their firing solutions for deep targets. He bet wrong. Pendleton's sonar operator called out the shallow depth. The first attack at 0214 was not a massive blast, just 3, maybe 5, detonations. These were the sounds of 65-pound projectiles punching 3-inch holes through a pressure hull at 723 feet per second. At 150 feet, the mathematics are grim. Seawater enters a 3-inch hole at 400 gallons per minute. The breaking noises weren't loud, just the groan of metal under fatal pressure. Kill number 4. Word of England's patrol. 4 confirmed kills in 5 days, rocketed across the Pacific and all the way to Washington. It landed on the desk of Admiral King. the chief of naval operations, the man who commanded every ship in the United States Navy. King read the action reports, then sent a simple, direct message to the Third Fleet. There'll always be an England in the United States Navy. The England was becoming a legend, but fame brought new orders. Admiral Halsey wanted her pulled from the line immediately, reassigned to carrier escort duty. She was now too valuable to risk. Commander Haynes refused. 3 submarines remained on the NA line. The mission was incomplete. Halsey's order was delayed. On May 26th, Raby gained radar contact on RO-108. The submarine dove and Raby's attack missed. Division Commander Haynes gave the order again. Go ahead, England. At 23:23, England commenced her attack. This Japanese commander made the same mistake as RO-116, staying shallow, believing the Americans couldn't track him. England fired. 4 projectiles hit, maybe 6. The explosions came so close together they sounded like one. This was not a slow flooding. This was not a death by inches. The pressure hull ruptured at multiple points simultaneously. The submarine imploded. 56 men died in less than 3 seconds, faster than they could even process what was happening. At Imperial Navy headquarters, there was just silence. The panic was setting in. Kill number 5, the Japanese were learning. On May 30th, George detected RO-105. The submarine dove, but this commander, the final boss, did something different. He went deep, 400 feet, then stopped all engines. Complete silence. For 4 agonizing hours, England waited, hovering over an invisible, silent enemy. It was an intellectual duel, a battle of wills. Then, at 02:30, the signal strengthened. RO-105's batteries were dying. He had to move. This commander was the best they had faced. He ran deep and fast, varying his speed. 6 knots, then 4, then 6 again. He was making the mathematics impossible. Pendleton's first Hedgehog attack at 4:05 missed by 200 feet. The second attack missed by 100 feet. The Japanese commander was winning the numbers game. Then, at 4:47, Pendleton's sonar operator found it. A pattern. The Japanese commander thought he was being random, turning every 4 minutes 30 degrees to port, then 30 to starboard. But humans aren't random. Pendleton adjusted the firing solution, leading the target. The third attack hit. 4 detonations. The fourth attack at 05:32 broke the submarine apart. Kill number 6. 6 submarines in 12 days. The NA line was broken. The hunt was over. The final tally was something no Navy had ever seen. 6 submarines, 12 days. 335 Japanese sailors confirmed dead. Let's return to the mathematics. Remember the British forces? 5,174 depth charge attacks for 85 kills. That's a 1.6% success rate. Remember the early Hedgehog trials that captains didn't trust? A 5% success rate. During her 12-day patrol, the USS England conducted approximately 15 Hedgehog attacks to sink 6 submarines. Her success rate was 40%. This wasn't an improvement. It was a revolution. It was 25 times more effective than depth charges. It was 8 times more effective than the Hedgehog's own proven average. Pendleton's logic had been right. The numbers were proven in steel. Because of this patrol, the Hedgehog system became standard on every destroyer escort in the Pacific Fleet. The England had achieved the impossible. Her 12-day record was unprecedented, a triumph of mathematics and skill that changed naval warfare. But the triumph did not last. The ship continued escort duty through the summer of 1944, convoy protection, carrier screening. She never found another submarine. She never fired the Hedgehog in combat again. Then, on October 31st, 1944, off Leyte Gulf, the sky changed. A Japanese kamikaze aircraft dove out of the clouds, aimed directly at the destroyer escort. The plane and its bomb penetrated the forward engine room. The explosion was catastrophic. 37 of England's crew were killed instantly. 25 more were wounded. The ship that had survived the NA gauntlet was now a burning, flooded wreck. Repairs would take 6 months, costing more than building a new ship. The Navy, in a cold calculation, decided the greatest submarine killer in its history wasn't worth saving. The USS England was towed to Manus Island. She was a wounded hero the Navy had decided wasn't worth saving. There she was stripped of all useful equipment. In November 1946, just 2.5 years after her launch, she was sold for scrap. This was the final ignoble end. The ship that sank 6 submarines in 12 days, a record that has never been matched and still stands today, was unceremoniously cut apart in a salvage yard. Her reward for this unprecedented heroism? To be melted down, ending her life as razor blades and tin cans. The ship that had changed naval warfare wasn't even worth the metal she was made from. And what of Admiral King's promise? There'll always be an England in the United States Navy. That promise was broken. A second USS England was commissioned in 1960, but when she was decommissioned in 1994, the name England disappeared from the fleet. Walton Pendleton, the man who trusted mathematics, was buried at Arlington National Cemetery. His gravestone mentions his Navy Cross, but it doesn't mention the 6 submarines. It doesn't mention the 12 days that changed naval warfare. And that revolutionary weapon? The original Hedgehog launcher sits in storage at the National Museum of the United States Navy, rusted and forgotten. The placard mentions the weapon's success rate, but it doesn't mention the England. It doesn't mention Pendleton. History, it seems, has forgotten. If this story moved you the way it moved us, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Every single like tells YouTube to show this story to more people. It tells them that these men and this ship deserve to be remembered. The official records may be forgotten in dusty archives, but we can change that. You're not just a viewer. You are part of keeping the memory of the USS England and her crew alive. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Texas, Germany, Australia. Let us know you're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure that the USS England and her crew do not disappear into silence.